The woman in the gold dress. It started on a rainy night in New York City. The streets were slick with water, and taxi lights flickered like lost fireflies. Keanu Reeves had just finished a quiet dinner alone at a small Korean restaurant he loved. The world outside was loud and fast, but Keanu walked slowly, his hood up, his head low, trying not to be noticed. He loved the silence inside his thoughts, but tonight, something strange was waiting at the corner of 5th and East Broadway. A woman in a shimmering gold dress stood barefoot under a street lamp, leaning heavily against a lamppost. Her heels were in her hands, her mascara running, and she was laughing to herself like the world had told her the best joke, and then kicked her in the ribs. Most people passed her, whispering or shaking their heads, but not Keanu. He slowed down. He looked at her carefully, not with judgment, but with concern. "You okay?" he asked softly. Keeping his distance, she blinked at him, tried to focus. "Are you real, or did I imagine John Wick coming to pick me up?" He smiled gently. "I get that a lot. You sound like him too," she slurred, swaying a bit. "Do you have a motorcycle?" "Nope, just a feet, but they work fine." She let out a tired laugh, then leaned against the pole again. "My driver ditched me. I told him to leave. I thought I was strong tonight." Keanu glanced at the building behind her. An exclusive rooftop bar, velvet rope, security guards and earpieces. He knew the kind of people who went there, the kind of people who drank too much and forgot their hearts at home. "Can I call someone for you?" he asked. She pulled a phone from her clutch. It was dead. "Of course," she muttered. "Figures." Keanu stepped forward slowly. "Listen, I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not here to take advantage. But you can't stay out here like this. It's cold, and you're really not okay." She looked up at him, and for the first time, he saw the exhaustion in her eyes, not just from alcohol. It was the exhaustion of a person who had been pretending to be strong for far too long. "I just wanted one night to feel powerful," she said, voice cracking. "I wanted to drink and laugh and forget all of it. Forget the board meetings, the lawyers, the silence in my penthouse." Keanu's eyes softened. "What's your name?" "Sienna," she said, blinking back tears. "Sienna Hart." His breath caught slightly. He knew that name, Sienna Hart, the youngest female billionaire in tech. She owned one of the biggest cybersecurity firms in the world. "You don't look like someone who needs help," Keanu said gently, "but you do look like someone who deserves it." She closed her eyes, and for a moment, she was just a woman in a gold dress, tired, broken, and vulnerable. He held out his hand. "Let me get you home, Sienna. You don't have to tell me anything else. I just don't want you out here alone." She stared at his hand for a moment. Then, slowly, she placed hers in his, and something changed in the air. Asterisk, asterisk, they walked down the sidewalk together, Sienna clinging to his arm. She didn't ask questions. She didn't demand a car or scream at him to mind his own business. She just walked. Keanu got them into a cab. The driver raised an eyebrow when he saw her, but Keanu gave him a look that said, "Don't ask." "Address?" he asked Sienna softly. 58 Central Park West. She mumbled. The ride was quiet. She leaned against his shoulder, eyes fluttering shut. The cab smelled like peppermint and leather. Keanu looked out the window, unsure what he was doing. He was a stranger to her, but something inside him said she needed this moment of peace, and he could hold it together for her just a little longer. When they reached her building, Keanu helped her out. She fumbled with her keycard at the front desk, but the security guard recognized her and nodded them through. "Mr. Reeves," the guard said respectfully. Keanu just nodded back. Sienna didn't hear. She was already leaning on him again, humming a lullaby to herself. When they reached her penthouse, it took 3 tries to get the door open. Inside, the apartment was massive, cold, and empty. Floor-to-ceiling windows, untouched furniture, a fireplace that hadn't been lit in months. "Just drop me on the couch," Sienna whispered. "I'll sleep in my dress, don't worry." Keanu guided her gently, taking off her heels and placing a throw blanket over her. She was asleep before he even reached the door, but something made him stop. On the table near the couch was a framed photo, Sienna and an older man, her father. He remembered reading an article years ago. Her father had built the company. She had taken over after he died. Keanu looked back at her. The woman the world saw as a tech genius, a cold strategist, a billionaire. Right now, she was just a daughter who missed her dad. He turned off the lights and left quietly, wondering why his heart felt heavier than usual. The next morning, Sienna woke up with a pounding headache and flashes of a stranger's voice. "Was I dreaming?" she muttered, sitting up slowly. Then she saw the note on her glass table. "You're stronger than you think. You just forgot for a moment. Rest well, Sienna." Keanu, her fingers trembled as she held the paper. "Keanu?" she whispered. And then she remembered. The man who helped her, who said nothing cruel, who expected nothing, who saw her, not her wealth. And she felt something strange bloom in her chest. Hope. ***. 1 week later, she walked into a bookstore in Brooklyn, wearing sunglasses and a hoodie, not her usual look, but she had to see him again. She had searched online, and someone mentioned Keanu was seen here often. The bell above the door chimed. Keanu looked up from a stack of poetry books. Their eyes met. Sienna pulled down her hoodie slowly. "You remembered me?" He smiled. "You found your shoes." She laughed, and it filled the quiet bookstore like music. "I was hoping to find the man who reminded me what kindness feels like." Keanu closed the book in his hand. "I'm glad you did." "Coffee?" she asked, her voice hopeful. "Always." They walked for hours that day. No press, no bodyguards, no masks. They talked about grief, about loneliness, about the strange cost of success. And when Sienna touched his hand at the corner of Union Square, Keanu didn't pull away. He held on. And the world, just for a moment, felt like it had stopped, spinning so fast. The internet would explode in 7 days when the headline broke. Keanu Reeves in tech, billionaire Sienna. Hart announced surprise engagement, but no one would know the quiet night that started it all. No one but them. And as they stood together on a rooftop under the stars, Sienna whispered, "I didn't believe in magic anymore." Keanu smiled. Then we're both surprised. And just like that, two lonely souls decided they were done being lonely. The morning after the headline news broke before the sun did. Keanu Reeves engaged to tech billionaire Sienna Hart. The words scrolled across every screen. Phones buzzed, televisions flashed, reporters whispered and screamed. But in a quiet apartment in Brooklyn, the world's noise hadn't yet crept in. Keanu Reeves sat on the floor, sipping tea. He wasn't scrolling. He wasn't pacing. He was waiting. Sienna Hart stood in the doorway, barefoot, wearing one of his flannel shirts. Her hair was messy, her eyes still sleepy, but the way she looked at him, it was calm, like she wasn't surprised at all. "I guess they found out," she said softly. Stepping closer, Keanu looked up at her. "How bad is it?" "Depends," she smiled gently. "How do you feel about being called a gold digger?" He laughed, but there was a flash of pain behind his eyes. He knew the world twisted stories. They made things fit boxes. Woman with power must be cold. Man with kindness must have a plan. Sienna sat down beside him, resting her head on his shoulder. "I don't care what they say. I know what's real." Keanu nodded slowly. "I care a little. Not about them, about you. I don't want to hurt your name. You helped me when no one else would. You didn't ask for anything. I kissed you on a bookstore corner and you said yes like it was the most natural thing in the world. It was," he whispered. They sat in silence. And then the world called her. Phone buzzed once, then again. Then it didn't stop. First it was her PR team. Then her assistant. Then her board of directors. Then his agent. The world didn't care how real their story was. It only wanted to sell the version people could gossip about. Sienna stood by the window, holding her phone in both hands, her knuckles white. "They want a press conference," she said. "They want to know if you signed a prenup. They want me to protect my brand." Keanu didn't answer. Instead, he walked over and gently took her phone. He placed it face down on the counter. "Do you want this?" he asked. She looked at him. "You mean the chaos?" "No," he said softly. "Me." Her eyes filled with tears. "You think I don't?" "I think people say a lot of things when they're lost. And sometimes love shows up when we're still healing. You think this is too fast. I think it's fast for them, but not for me. Her voice broke. Me neither. Asterisk asterisk by afternoon. They were walking through Central Park. Disguises on, sunglasses, hats, quiet steps. Keanu held her hand in his, and people walked past them. Without knowing, they sat on a bench near a small pond. Children played in the distance. Dogs barked. A breeze lifted leaves into little dances. When my father died, Sienna said, I stopped trusting people. Keanu stayed quiet. Everyone came with a contract, a motive, a smile that never reached their eyes. He finally spoke. And now you didn't come with anything, no camera, no offer, no question. Maybe that's why you found me. Sienna leaned her head on his shoulder. Maybe I was just tired of being alone. Later that night, they returned to her penthouse. It still felt too big for one person. So she made tea, and they watched old movies. She fell asleep with her head in his lap, and he didn't move, not for hours. He just watched the flicker of light on her skin and thought about how strange it was to feel peace again. And yet, the storm was already gathering. Asterisk asterisk the next morning, Sienna received a formal letter from her board. A closed-door meeting was being called. They were concerned about recent behavior. They think you're unstable, her assistant whispered. They think he's distracting you. Keanu didn't say anything when she told him. He just asked one question. Do you want me to disappear? Her hands flew to his. No, don't ever say that again. They'll come after me, Sienna. They'll try to ruin you because of me. Let them try. I'm just a man who fixed your heels and carried you home. No, she said, her voice shaking. You're the only person who saw me when I was falling apart. I won't let them take that away. Asterisk asterisk that night, Keanu waited outside the boardroom. Sienna went in alone. For hours. The room was filled with raised voices, thick silence, and piercing questions. Is this real or a stunt? Do you understand the impact on our shareholders? Do you have a prenup? And then finally, do you love him? She looked around the room of powerful men and women. Some had known her father. Some had only ever known her as his replacement. She stood tall and said, yes, I love him. And no, I won't apologize for it. Asterisk asterisk when she stepped out of the room, Keanu stood. She walked to him and didn't say a word. She just took his hand. And together, they left. No one stopped them. Asterisk asterisk but the media didn't let go. Headlines exploded again. Has Sienna Hart lost control? Keanu Reeves accused of being a distraction. The million-dollar question. Where's the prenup? But in the middle of the storm, Keanu and Sienna found something even more rare than peace. Clarity. They retreated to a cabin in Vermont. No phones. No press. Just trees, wind, and the sound of snow falling outside. They cooked together. They read poetry aloud. They built fires and shared memories they had never told anyone else. And one night, while Sienna was looking at the stars, Keanu whispered, marry me for real. Not because the world expects it, but because we both deserve something honest. And she whispered back, I thought you'd never ask. Asterisk asterisk back in the city, an invitation was quietly sent to a few names. Not celebrities. Not executives. Just the people who mattered. Her childhood piano teacher, his old stunt double, the security guard who let them through the building that first night. They would marry quietly. Not in a castle. Not on a yacht, but in a bookstore, the same one where she found him again. Asterisk asterisk Sienna didn't wear diamonds. She wore a simple white dress. Keanu wore the same suit he wore to a friend's funeral years ago. He said it reminded him of life and love, and the way things move on. They exchanged vows in front of 20 people. And in a world of noise, they whispered something the world never expected from them. Forever. Asterisk the vow, the scandal, and the storm. The bookstore was quiet, not silent, the kind of quiet where every breath, every page turned. Every heartbeat felt sacred. There were only 20 guests. A soft string quartet played in the corner. Sunlight poured in through the skylight above the shelves, touching Sienna's white dress like a warm blessing. She stood at the far end of the aisle, barefoot. No diamonds, no veil. Just a soft white silk dress and a look in her eyes that said, She had already made peace with every part of herself, and at the other end stood Keanu. His hands were folded. He didn't smile. He didn't need to. He looked at her the way a man looks when the war is finally over. Not a war with guns or fists. A war with loneliness. And the moment she reached him, the room felt full. Not with guests, not with words. Full of meaning. Full of truth. The vows weren't perfect. They weren't written on gold-edged paper. Sienna's hands trembled when she spoke. Her voice cracked halfway through. I thought I was impossible to love, she said, tears running freely, until the night you carried me home with nothing but kindness. And no man has ever made me feel safer by doing less. Keanu didn't need to pause. I thought I'd live my life alone, he said softly. Not because I wanted to, but because I forgot I was allowed to hope again. Then you showed up. You weren't lost. You were just finding your way to me. They exchanged rings. Simple bands, warm and real. When the minister said, "You may now kiss the bride," it didn't feel like a performance. It felt like an answer to a question neither of them had asked out loud. They didn't post it online. They didn't sell the rights to a magazine. They had cake in the back of the bookstore. They drank tea with her old piano teacher and laughed with his stunt double about near-death movie scenes. And then they vanished. For 1 week, there were no headlines, no photos. No cameras. Just Keanu and Sienna in a small cabin by a frozen lake. And for 7 days, they lived in silence and laughter. But the world was not done with them. On the 8th day, the storm returned. The first article appeared on a business news blog. Insider says Sienna Hart was coerced into marriage with Keanu Reeves. Prenup was skipped. Massive lawsuit incoming. Then came the second. Keanu Reeves might now control a $6.8 billion tech empire. And then the third. Leaked audio. Board member says she's made a fool of us all. Sienna dropped her phone onto the cabin floor. Keanu picked it up and turned it off. You okay? He asked. She nodded too quickly, then shook her head slowly. They're coming after you, Keanu. They want to make you the villain. Let them. He said simply. No, she whispered. You don't deserve this. He walked to the window and stared out at the snow. Neither did you. The night I met you, you were the strongest woman I had ever seen. And the saddest. I still am. He turned to her. But now you're not alone. 3 days later, they returned to the city, and it was waiting. Paparazzi surrounded the building. Reporters shouted cruel questions. How much did you get in the marriage? Is this your biggest acting role yet? But Keanu didn't react. He held Sienna's hand tightly and walked through the noise like it didn't exist. They made it to the elevator. Silence returned for a moment. Sienna was trembling. He turned to her and said softly, You don't owe them anything, but I owe you the truth, she whispered. I'm scared. He nodded. Me too. They both smiled. And then the elevator opened into her penthouse, only it wasn't empty. Her legal team was already waiting. Her board had filed for an emergency injunction. They were trying to remove her as CEO. You're emotionally compromised. One lawyer said, You've jeopardized the company's reputation, another added. And you've given access to a man with no formal stake, a third said, gesturing toward Keanu. Keanu didn't flinch. He stayed quiet. Sienna stood in the center of the room, her arms crossed, her chest rising and falling fast. Are you firing me from the company I helped build? She asked calmly. The lawyers exchanged glances. We're protecting it, one said. From what? She asked. From love. They didn't answer. And then Keanu spoke. For the first time. His voice was calm, but sharp like a blade hidden in velvet. You want me to walk away, right? They turned to him. Fine, he said. But let me ask you something first. Which version of Sienna Hart scares you more? The one who worked 12 hours a day alone, or the one who's finally found peace and has someone to fight beside her? No one spoke. You don't want a broken leader, he said. You want a puppet. She's not that. And she never was. Sienna looked at him with tears in her eyes, and something in the room shifted. Power returned to her. Not the kind on paper. The kind in presence. She turned to her team. Thank you for your concern, she said coldly. You're all dismissed. We'll meet again under different terms. One by one, they left. And Keanu just stood there, watching her glow. Later that night, Sienna curled up beside him on the couch. You didn't have to defend me. I didn't, he said. I defended the truth. What if they come after you? They already did. But love's not a weakness. It's the only thing that doesn't break under pressure. The next morning, Sienna made a bold move. She called a press conference. But instead of a speech, she showed up without makeup, without security. Just herself and a microphone. And Keanu by her side. I married a man who helped me when no one else would, she began. Not because he wanted anything from me, but because he saw someone drowning and reached out a hand. Reporters were silent. Cameras clicked quietly. I'm not stepping down, she said. I'm stepping up. Because for the first time in my life, I know who I am outside of a title. She turned to Keanu, and he gave the smallest, proudest smile. And for those wondering about money, here's the truth. We signed no prenup. Because love isn't a contract, it's a choice we make every day. The room was stunned. But slowly, applause began. Not from the press, from her staff standing in the back. And it grew, until the walls of the room echoed with something stronger than gossip. Respect. Outside, the internet was on fire. But this time, it wasn't hate. It was awe. #team KEANNA began trending. Celebrities voiced support. Even Sienna's competitors praised her courage. And for once, the headlines were kind. Later that night, in the soft glow of their living room, Keanu held her hand. So, he said with a grin, what's next? Sienna looked at him. We changed the world, she said. And he smiled. Together, always. Betrayal in the boardroom. Love in the firelight had only been 3 weeks since their quiet bookstore wedding. But already, the world had turned. In public, people smiled at Sienna Hart now. The media had softened. Her staff was more loyal than ever. And Keanu Reeves, well, he was no longer the distraction. He was her partner, in life, in purpose. But behind closed doors, not everyone had accepted this, and soon, that truth would burn its way to the surface. It began with a file. A simple brown folder placed on her desk by her assistant, Daniel. This came in through private mail. No return address. He said. Sienna opened it. At first, her eyes didn't react. Then her fingers tightened. Keanu looked up from the couch nearby. He was reading a book. He always read when she worked late. What is it? He asked. She didn't speak. Instead, she handed him the folder. Inside were screenshots, emails, bank transfers. A private conversation between 2 men from her board. It wasn't just talk of removing her. It was a plan. She's blinded. She thinks he loves her. Just wait. Once she signs the merger, we leak it. We bury her. Keanu read every line slowly. Then he looked up at Sienna. Her face was pale. Her body still. They were going to use us to crash the company, she whispered. Make it look like I let my emotions ruin the firm. Keanu closed the folder gently. They're not just trying to hurt you, he said. They're trying to erase you. Sienna didn't cry. She didn't scream. She stood up, walked to the window, and stared out at the city. I knew they didn't like me, she said. But I didn't think they'd plan my execution. Keanu walked to her slowly. Then we show them who we are. How with truth? The next morning, they didn't go to the office. Instead, they went to a law firm downtown. One of the best in the country. A woman named Maya ran it. Sienna had once mentored her. Maya didn't smile when she saw them. She simply said, I've been waiting for you. She already knew. They've been moving quietly. Maya explained, but you're lucky. They got greedy and careless. These files will expose them. But we can't go public, Sienna said. Not yet. Why? Keanu answered for her. Because if this becomes about revenge, we lose the message. And they win. Maya nodded. Then we build a case. Not a scandal. For the next week. Sienna and Keanu worked behind the scenes. They collected evidence. They held secret meetings with ethical board members. They spoke with former employees who had been silenced. And every night, they came home exhausted. But together. One night, while lying on the floor watching old movies. Sienna said softly, "I used to sleep with my phone under my pillow. I was always afraid something would collapse while I wasn't watching." Keanu turned to her. "And now I sleep," she whispered, "because you're beside me." He kissed her forehead. "We're going to be okay. But the fire came anyway." One morning, Sienna walked into her office to find the glass walls cracked with tension. Her name was trending again, but not because of love, because of a new leak. One of the board members had released a fake document. It showed that Sienna had transferred a large sum of company money into a private account under Keanu's name. It was false, but it looked real. And the damage was instant. Shares dropped, calls flooded in, and within hours, emergency headlines painted Sienna as corrupt. Sienna Hart accused of embezzlement. Did Keanu Reeves know? In the penthouse, silence roared. Keanu stood in the kitchen, staring at the news on the screen. Sienna sat on the couch, her knees drawn to her chest. "They forged it," she whispered. "They're willing to commit crimes now." Keanu walked over and knelt in front of her. "Do you want to fight this?" "What choice do I have?" "You always have a choice," he said. "But you're not alone anymore. We do this together." She looked at him, then nodded. "We go to war." That evening, they called a press conference. Not with reporters. With their team. Developers, designers, coders, janitors, everyone who helped build the company, not from the top floor, but from the ground up. Sienna stood before them, not as their boss, as a woman betrayed. "They say I stole from the company," she began. "But the truth is, they've been stealing from me, from all of us, for years." Eyes widened. Silence thickened. "They wanted to use my marriage as a distraction, to make me look weak, emotional, easy to manipulate." She glanced at Keanu, who stood quietly at the side. "But here's the truth. Love didn't make me weaker. It made me brave." A ripple moved through the crowd. "And now, with your help, we expose them." Emails were released. Screenshots shared. The fake transfer was proven false within hours. A whistleblower stepped forward, and within 24 hours, the story changed again. Sienna Hart clears her name. Keanu Reeves had no financial involvement. To board members arrested in scheme to defraud Hart Systems. The night after the truth came out, Sienna and Keanu sat on the rooftop. The city glowed below. She leaned against him. "I can breathe again," she said. "You never stopped." He replied, "You just forgot you deserved to." She turned to him. "What now?" He smiled. "We build something they can't touch." "Like what?" "Like love that turns into legacy." And down below, in the heart of the city, something new was rising. Not just a company. A mission, and it would carry their names. Together. Legacy starts with her. Namit was only a few weeks after the arrests, but something had changed in Sienna Hart's eyes. The woman who once wore armor to work was now walking through her own office. Like the storm had passed and left her stronger. Keanu watched her from the side of the room. He wasn't trying to be in the spotlight. He never did. But everyone looked at him now with quiet respect. He was the man who stayed. The man who didn't run when things got dark. The board had been cleaned. The corrupt members were gone. But Sienna had no interest in going back to how things were. "We don't just fix broken glass," she said in a company-wide meeting. "We build a better window." So she did something no CEO in her industry had ever done. She dismantled the old corporate model. She started with pay. She raised the minimum salary. She cut her own. Then she brought in counselors to work with staff. Mental health became part of the work culture. Rest became mandatory, not a reward. Some investors called her reckless. Others called her revolutionary. But Sienna didn't care. She didn't answer to fear anymore. She had almost lost herself chasing approval. Now she was building something real. One afternoon, Keanu sat with her in the office garden, sipping tea. "The city noise felt distant here. You're different," he said gently. "Better or worse?" "More you." She smiled and leaned her head against his shoulder. "I used to think power meant being untouchable," she whispered. "Now I think it just means telling the truth, even when it hurts. You always had power." Keanu replied, Now you just have peace too. She turned to him. I want to use what we have. Not to make more money, to make something good. What do you mean? A foundation. For women in tech. For girls who grow up thinking they're not smart enough. What will you call it? She paused, then said quietly, the Heart Fund. They launched it 1 week later. The website crashed from traffic in the first hour. Donations flooded in. Stories came from everywhere. Girls in villages who learned coding on broken laptops. Young women who were told they didn't belong in math classes. Mothers who gave up their careers because they had no support. And now, with the Heart Fund, they had a place to start again. Keanu didn't make speeches at the launch party. He stood at the back, watching her glow. She wore the same gold dress from the night they met. Except this time, she wasn't broken in it. She owned it. After the party, they walked home hand in hand. No security. No cars. Just the pavement and stars. Do you remember that night? She asked softly. You found me outside that rooftop bar. I remember the shoes. He smiled. I was falling apart. You were human. Why did you help me? He stopped walking and looked at her. Because I've been helped before, and sometimes, the kindest thing you can do is remind someone they're still worth saving. She didn't answer. She just wrapped her arms around him and whispered, thank you. But even as the world began to see her differently, not everyone was ready to let her grow without resistance. In the shadows of her success, a man watched. His name was Victor Lang. He had once been her father's partner, pushed out years ago for reasons the public never knew. And now, with Sienna rising again, he saw opportunity. She's vulnerable, he told his assistant. She trusts too easily. And that husband of hers, he's her soft spot. The assistant looked nervous. Sir, she just survived a scandal. Victor smiled coldly. And that's exactly why the next one will destroy her. A week later, Sienna received a letter. At first, she thought it was fan mail, until she read the contents. Victor was suing the company, claiming stolen intellectual property. Claiming her father never had full rights, claiming the entire Hart legacy was built on lies. And with it came a threat, a quiet one. A warning, settle quietly, or I make this public. Sienna sat frozen at the kitchen table. Keanu walked in and saw the look on her face. What is it? She handed him the letter. His jaw tightened. Who is this guy? He was my father's co-founder. Before the first round of funding, they split. And now, he wants to tear everything down. Keanu sat beside her. Do you believe him? No. But it doesn't matter. The doubt alone could ruin everything we've built. Keanu took a long breath. Then he said, we don't settle. We fight. We shine light. The next day, they brought Maya back. She reviewed the documents. Shook her head. It's garbage, legally. He has no case, but if he gets public sympathy, it won't matter. Then we don't just tell our story, Sienna said. We show it. A week later, they launched a documentary. A quiet one. No drama. Just truth. Old videos of her father. Emails, timelines, paperwork. Proof that the company was always his, and then hers. But the most powerful moment was a home video. Sienna, at age 6, sitting at a computer in her dad's garage. Typing code, building her first game, and laughing. The world saw her not as a billionaire. Not as a scandal, but as a daughter, a girl who grew into a woman who never stopped building. The lawsuit crumbled. Victor disappeared, and the Hart legacy stood stronger than ever. Sienna and Keanu sat on the floor that night. A candle flickered on the table. You never hesitated. She said, not once. Why? Because I love you. He said simply, and I believe in the good we're creating, even when the world doesn't, especially then. And so, in a world full of noise and fire, they made something rare. Not just a marriage, not just a company. But a quiet, fierce promise. We will not be afraid. We will not be small. We will love loudly, and we will build something that outlives us. Together. A quiet legacy louder than Fammoth spring came gently. New York's hard edges softened. With cherry blossoms, windows opened, street musicians returned. The air smelled like second chances. In their quiet penthouse above the city, Sienna, Hart, and Keanu Reeves moved like people who had survived a war, not with wounds on their bodies, but with new strength. In their hearts. No headlines followed them now. No photographers waited outside their home. The chaos had calmed. And in that stillness, they began something new. Sienna no longer rushed through life. She made her coffee slowly in the mornings. She spent afternoons walking through schools her foundation had helped rebuild. In one classroom in Harlem, she sat beside a girl with braids and round glasses. "Do you know who you are?" the girl asked softly. "Yes," Sienna smiled. "Do you?" The girl nodded. "I'm going to build the next big thing." And Sienna said, "Then I'll help." "You do it." Keanu spent his days writing now. Not scripts. Letters. Real ones. He started something small, a letter writing project to hospitals, shelters, prisons. He called it The Unseen. "For those who feel invisible," he said, "you are not." His words reached people who had forgotten how to hope. And in return, he received hundreds of letters. Some from inmates, some from elderly women who had no family left, some from a janitor in Ohio who wrote, "Thank you for reminding me that being kind still matters." Their love didn't look like the movies. They didn't post about it. They didn't shout it from rooftops. They whispered it in quiet ways. Notes on pillows, warm hands on cold mornings. Shared books and long walks. And every year, on the day they met, Sienna would wear the gold dress again, not because she needed to, because she wanted to remember the night she stopped pretending, and the man who saw her. One morning, Sienna sat at her desk going through foundation reports. Keanu walked in with 2 cups of tea and a small envelope. "What's this?" she asked. "Open it." Inside was a handwritten note. "Dear Mrs. Reeves, you don't know me. I was the bartender at that rooftop bar the night you left alone. I remember you. I remember how broken you looked. I'm ashamed to say I didn't help. But I saw what happened after. The world thought you fell, but I saw you rise. I've since left that job, and now I volunteer at a shelter for women. Your story made me believe people can change. Thank you. With respect, C.J. Sienna stared at the letter for a long time. "He saw me at my worst," she whispered, "and still saw your worth," Keanu said. "Like you did." He smiled gently. "You helped him without ever meeting him," she said. "So, did you?" Keanu replied. "You just didn't know it." A year passed. Then too. They didn't throw parties. They planted gardens. They didn't collect followers. They collected stories. And slowly, without trying, they built something no scandal could ever touch. One rainy night, they sat beside a fire. No cameras. No noise. Just them. Keanu looked at Sienna and said softly, "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't stopped that night?" "Sometimes," she said. "And then I stop, because I know we were meant to meet, even in chaos, especially in chaos." He nodded slowly. "Would you do it again?" he asked. "All of it?" She didn't even blink. "I'd let my whole world fall apart again," she said, "if it meant finding you in the ashes, and somewhere far from lights and interviews." The world kept spinning. But in one small corner of it, to people who were never looking for love found it anyway. Not in the big things. But in the kindness of a stranger. The courage to stay. And the belief that even in the darkest moments, something beautiful can still grow. They had no empire now. Just a promise. To choose each other. Again. And again. And again. And in the final page of her journal that year, Sienna wrote one sentence. "I thought my story was about survival, but it was always about love."